I'm Melissa Como, licensed therapist and board certified counselor. One important thing I've learned in my own life and working with individuals and couples is we experience more joy in our lives when we are in fulfilling and supportive relationships. Think about it. When something bad happens, you call on the people you know will be there. And when something really great happens, you want the people closest to you there to celebrate. This is the heart of my practice. At Heartfelt Counseling Center, we are here to help you learn the skills to have satisfying and successful relationships. We understand that relationships can feel complicated. Let's help you make it simple. Contact us today for a free consultation and follow us on social media where we talk all things relationships. Thanks for listening.
All right, welcome. I see we have already a few people watching. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Melissa Como. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Florida. My practice is fully virtual. So whether you're from the Keys to the Panhandle, I got you. All right. I specialize in individual and couples counseling. And I do these live talks every month or so on things on Black love, relationships, self-love, which we'll talk about tonight. And I like to bring on guests who I know in real life, okay? And so I think it makes the conversation so much more fruitful. And I tend to vibe in that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and move it over to our guest tonight. I want her to introduce herself to y'all, and then we'll go into the topic for tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chantrell Smith. A quick spiel about me. I'm a lot of things, a lot of titles. I'm a daughter, a sister, an auntie. I'm also an herbalist, mindfulness meditation teacher, breathwork practitioner. I'm also the founder of Nia Soul. It's a hair wellness brand that I just actually launched last month. And it's rooted in wellness and an inside-out approach to hair growth through stress care. So I thank you guys for having me today. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah, of course. I just want to let everyone know I'm representing Nia Soul tonight. I got my radiant. What can you tell us again what Nia Soul means? I think you told me before.
Yeah, so Nia means radiant and intentional. And the reason behind that is because there's a lot of stuff within the beauty industry, and we're taking up space as a beauty and wellness company. And our intention is to help people be radiant and really to be radiant on the inside out. So we're offering ingestible solutions to thriving externally.
Yeah, I love it. So, I was very inspired by your story. So I dug deep in my closet to pull out this for you to represent Nia Soul. So I intentionally put this on so I could radiate in our conversation tonight.
I love it.
Yes, exactly. So I support my people, and of course, you and I go way back. So
yes.
if y'all don't know, so Chantrell and I go way back to high school. We actually rode the bus together for about 3 years. I'm 1 year ahead of her. And so we got to know each other through that time. We've sparsely stayed connected over time. But I feel like, and we talked about this before the live, that even though we weren't like best friends or super close, we always had that mutual respect for each other, and we had that connection. And so now as grown women, we're like, girl, like, yes, you know what I mean? I'm loving what I'm hearing is going on in your life, right? And so I'm so happy that we reconnected and that we decided to do this live together. And so I'm loving the fact that we're able to have a conversation where hair wellness means mental health wellness. And so they're great, especially for our Black and brown women and men as well when it comes to our specific community needs. And so did you want to share anything about like our kind of relationship and how we knew each other from back then? Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think you covered it, but I will say that I think that our relationship, it feels like it's come full circle. Like we knew of each other, like we always, like you said, had that respect, but I think that it's definitely more rooted today as both like entrepreneurs, and we have just very similar values and belief systems, and so, yeah, I'm loving this version of Melissa. I was telling her before, like I remember her being a certain way. She was very much like, she seemed quiet then. But now I'm just like, she's just a ball of energy. And I love it. Like she's definitely in her purpose. And I love to see that in every person out there. So yeah, I'm just excited for our reunion in a way, and I'm
Yes.
excited to be here. And I'm also excited because, you know, this is actually my first live or podcast format. And I
Mhm.
was telling Melissa that, you know, I'm grateful that it's through someone that I know, and that I know that will handle this, you know, scenario with me with care. And so I'm excited.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. We're gonna have fun. Everyone that's gonna be have a good time. So I want to see who's in the chat before we get started with the questions. Y'all know how this goes. We'll go and talk about Black love, move into the conversation on the topic of tonight. Chantrell is gonna grace us with her story, right? And so we can learn a lot from her experiences. But before we do that, can y'all drop in the chat for me? Just write out the word purpose. Okay, that is our primary topic for tonight. Let me know you're in the building. Okay, go ahead and drop in purpose so I can see who's with me. I see a few of y'all watching already, so don't be shy. I want to make sure that we are staying engaged and active and interactive with each other. Please, I welcome y'all to drop questions in the chat as well, make comments so we can have a great time tonight. And if there are going to be some questions that I'll directly ask the audience, and I would love for y'all to jump into that as well. But in the meantime, just drop purpose in the chat. If you want to let us know where you're watching from, that would be great too. I know there's some people from different zones across the country that's watching that hit me up. So please let us know you're in the building. So we got purpose. Okay. So people are ready. We got some people in the
Love
chat
it.
here putting purpose in the building. That means you guys are ready to have a wonderful conversation. And I know a lot of our supporters, Chantrell, were, looking forward to our conversation tonight too, right? And so it's good to see that people are here watching and paying attention with us. And I'll say, before we kind of get into the questions that we were talking about tonight, purpose is so important, right? It's so important that it's become or has been one of my brand values in terms of just what I want to align my practice with. And so operating in purpose is so important to me. Because I'm always like, why are we doing what we're doing? Like, why are we here? You know what I mean? And that could be a small question, a small situation, all the way to a big life question. Like, I want us to want to kind of know why are we doing what we're doing? And so I have another comment here. Just found Chantrell and immediately followed her. That's how I am here tonight. Look at that. You already got some people
Oh, wow.
that are here
Thank
for
you,
you.
love. I appreciate that.
Yes, already. Thank you so much. So that is one of the reasons why I want to talk about, and I think you and I aligned with that as well. Overall, though, the talks are usually in the lens of Black love, and Black love is cultural sensitivity and support and promoting our community and supporting our community. And so we'll ask questions that relate to Black love, purpose, and all the meaningful things of life. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started and check with Chantrell and ask her one of our questions we like to ask people who join us, because Black love is so important to us here. What does Black love mean to you, Chantrell?
Yeah. When I first heard this question, I think it's one of those things that's so layered and so deep. For me, I think that Black love, in the most purest sense, is an act of self-preservation and generational preservation. It's a choice, right? We have a lot of choices out there, but when you intentionally choose Black love, it's an act of preservation in a sense. It's a preservation in our stories, our traditions, our wisdom, passing that forward and remembering it for yourself. And then it's also, for me, it's like a sacred container for healing. When you feel safe with somebody who relates to you on so many different levels in terms of what it means to be Black, it hits different. The laughter is deeper, like it just resonates in a very soul deep way that is very indescribable. And it's a very beautiful, beautiful experience and feeling.
Well, look, you already getting, let me see what you're getting right now. We got Fluffy D giving you stars, okay? They love what you're saying. Lakai Home Essentials, one of our collaborators in the building, giving you a fire sign, okay? They are already feeling your energy, Miss Chantrell Smith of Nia Soul. I love your answer when it came to healing. I do think Black love is healing. I am primarily a relationship therapist. I do see individuals and couples. We also have a group. I'll let you know about that later. And so right now, a lot of my work has been, or lately has been on external relationships. Actually, that's where I started off at. And so lately, actually more focusing on internal, like your relationship with yourself. And so you talk about self-preservation, which is, our community, but also just with the self, being able to find healing in spaces where we share, common values and culture and that kind of thing. So that's so beautiful. It definitely adds more meaning to more than the relationship goals. Would you say? Like definitely more than.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, like Black love, like it's not just in a romantic sense, it's how we show up for ourselves. It's how we show up within our friendships, our relationships, in our lives. It's how we show up with Earth. How caring are we? How much are we giving back to Earth that has always provided for us since existence? And so it's deeper than what Disney fed us, as children. It's so much deeper. And so when you think from that lens, there's a certain level of intentionality that you lead through and live by, because we're not just here, like you said, by happenstance. We're here for a certain reason, a certain purpose. So
no, I love it. So you said something actually leads us to our next question, which is that Black love is not just romantic, right? And so, and if I'm looking over here, y'all, I'm just looking at the questions for us tonight, but it's not just romantic. And I've been talking about that for the past couple of years on IG, on my platform, and especially because I am a couples therapist, for me to say, oh, it's not just romantic, it's kind of like, what, huh? But to kind of not just get people's attention, but for people to think broader, right? And so one of the things I want to do with my platform is, and continue to do, is reshape the narrative of Black love, reframe the narrative of Black love. And one of those things is to look at the fact that we typically think of Black love as romantic, but it's not just that, right? And so one of the things that I've been doing as well is the beginning of the year, my first live this year, I did basically reframing Black love through like going through the myths, like the things that we hear about our community about Black love, and basically demystifying that, so to speak. And so I've been asking my guests this year too, kind of what their thoughts are. And so I'm going to ask you as well, if you can pick one myth about Black men, Black women, or Black love that we can demystify, what would it be and why? And matter of fact, audience, while Chantel can drop some in the chat, because last time I asked this, y'all had some good ones. So what do we want to do away with when we talk about our community? So Black love, Black men, Black women, what do we want to do away with?
And then I have a response. So I actually have two. That's why I'm pausing on which one to choose, or if I should do both. But as it relates to Black love, I think that it's important for us to remember that it's communal, and I feel like there is a lot that has happened over time where there was intentional programming around the divide of families, the divide of communities, the divide of nations. And so when we remember and reclaim that, I think that we, would be even more powerful than what we already are today. And so I don't think that's really a myth. It's more of like a remembering and a reclamation that I would love, that I hold dear in my heart for people who look like me. And then the other thing is, for Black women, and I say this with love.
That's all we do around here. We show love.
The myth, honestly, like the myth is, you don't have to be before you are anything to anyone else, be that to yourself first. And there's a saying, in terms of like, put your oxygen mask on, before you put the oxygen mask on for someone else, you put it on yourself first. That's something that I had to like relearn. And that was a part of like my own personal like well-being journey. Like that's how I'm able to like give from a fruitful place, because I'm able to pour into myself. And so this is something that I would love to see within, the community for Black women. It's just honor yourself, prioritize yourself, make space for yourself to pour into yourself before you are anything or anything to anyone else. That's something that I would love for us to embrace more.
Yeah, I love that, because that actually goes into the self-love, self-worth themes I've been kind of promoting, because what I'm noticing in my couples work, which is why I've been talking more about self lately, is that a lot, and this is literally me in therapy with my clients, and what I'm I've been identifying. Usually that's what happens with my content, is like I see a theme and how do I generalize it so people can hear it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what I'm noticing even in my couples work is that, people come to couples therapy because they want help, they want support, and at the same time, when I'm doing the work with them, I'm noticing there's things within themselves that they may or may not recognize. And then part of the work is actually helping them identify that and work through that to then see also how does it affect their partner and their relationship. And sometimes that's the work. Sometimes the work is actually working on yourself and
Always.
bringing that back to the table, versus looking at like, well, what do we have to do together? Or what do you have to do? And yes, there is a still together part, and there's still like you have to do something, but I've had a lot of transformation happen in couples therapy by actually working on the people individually. I mean, the sessions can still be two people there, but depending on how it, the actual format is, it's not really so much the point, but more so that the work could be on just that one person or the other, or them both, but about the stuff that they have going on within themselves. And sometimes we don't recognize that,
Yeah. And I believe that. And I feel like, anybody that's in our lives, like everyone is a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you see wrong within someone else, before you point that finger, like they say, when you point the finger, there's four more coming back to you. It's always a reflection, something that can be done on your end to shift the dynamic or the paradigm that you're experiencing. So yeah, I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, because no two systems are the same, right? Exactly. Like if you think about yourself, you're the common denominator in all your relationships, family, past partners, current partner, and all the relationships are different, but you're the common thing, person that's moving through those spaces. And so sometimes it's hard for us to look within, but that's a lot of the time where the transformation needs to happen and can happen. I have a comment here from Cozy Victor. Thank you, Cozy. It says, with the trust that their partner is doing the same. That's true. That's why it's a collaborative effort. So yes. So that's also the tricky part about couples therapy, right? So yes, there's a lot of self-work that needs to happen, but it does need to be collaborative. So it can't be like, I'm going to just wait on you to do your work. That's not how it goes, people. There's still something that we all can do to support the progress of the relationship. So
yeah, and even points to, the intentionality that should be taken into place when you choose your partner, like that's something that's very important to me, or is this a person that is committed to growth for themselves first and collectively? That's something that's really big, because if you're the only one growing and the other person isn't, then that leads to a lot of tension as well.
Exactly. And that also, I know we're shifting towards romantic because I'm the couples therapist here, but that also goes with friendships. That also goes with family members.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, yes, all of that.
all of it.
I'll bounce back a little bit before we move forward. We had a comment. Thank you, Cozy, again, about the myth question. So we need to do away with the "what do you bring to the table" framework in conversation, because both people should be showing up as their whole selves, offering their whole selves. That is so true. No relationship works just part of yourself. You have to basically be all in, in a sense, right? Although that could be scary, but that's definitely something. And again, that goes for friendships, certain relatives, depending on how close you are to them, any relationship, right? Like you want to be yourself and fully yourself in that space. So thank you for the comment, Cozy. So we're gonna move. So that's our intro. Get people warmed up about our platform, because Black Love is our lens that we have our conversations through. That's why it's so important to talk about that first. But our conversation specifically tonight is on purpose. And so when Chantel and I were talking to prep for the show, she was sharing with me, we're catching up like 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about age too much. Catching up all this time, what we've been going through, what we've been doing. And she was sharing her journey with me, and it was so inspiring. And I was so honored to just be a witness to her sharing her story. And so I'm so excited to have her with us tonight, because I think it's one of those things that people just need to hear. And I'm not gonna, I guess I'm gonna just let you do the rest. And I'm saying how much I'm excited about people hearing it, but they probably just need to hear it. So, Chantel, if you can share with us, let me see how I worded it here. Can you share with us your journey on falling into your purpose? And before you actually answer the question, I want people to know, we were intentional about saying falling into your purpose. Because a lot of times people say, I got to find my purpose. Like, why am I here? Like, what's my life purpose? And so the falling, or we also could think of like pivoting, right? So thinking about, sometime life happens, and that's when you find out what's your purpose or why you're here. And so
Mhm.
sometimes you're not looking for the purpose, or sometimes you thought you're already in your purpose, right? And then you just kind of fall into something, things happen. It doesn't have necessarily be negative things, but just things you didn't expect, you didn't plan for, and your purpose is right there. That's one of the things that what I thought was so meaningful. One of the things is many things that in Chantrell's story, because it's not the typical like, well, I got to go out and find it and try all these things, see if that's what I'm supposed to be doing, all this other stuff. But more so like sometimes life just happens and then you fall into it, right? And sometimes that's the most meaningful way because you hold on to it so dear and you cherish it so much, because it wasn't what you expected, right? So I want people to kind of think about that. We have some hearts in the building already about the setup for the story, Chantrell. So I'm gonna give it to you. So go ahead and share with us your journey of getting to your purpose.
Yeah, so I first want to preface it with this. So the way that I'm thinking about it, because I see it as a surrender. It was a
Mm.
surrender into my purpose after releasing and having several ego deaths, in terms of what I thought life would look like or how it should look like, how much pain or how much, tension or how much, I was dealing with in the moment. What I realized is that even in the contention of what was happening, and I'll go into detail, but, everything served a purpose and everything was medicine and everything was breadcrumbs for me to be exactly where I'm meant to be. So I want to preface all of that by saying that you are always in your purpose, even when you feel like you're not. And that awareness of where you feel like you're not is a breadcrumb for you to dig deeper, um, to go inward, and to do the work to determine what that may look like. And sometimes just starts with asking like what that looks like, and you'll get answers. The whole saying, "Asking you shall receive." That happens, and that's what happened for me. So what the overall story is that my background is in financial management. I worked for the federal government for over a decade, and in that environment was highly stressful, and highly it didn't have any work-life balance. And so I at the end of 2019, it was to the point where my body was basically going through several ailments over time, from um, digestive issues to insomnia. I had moments of panic attacks throughout. Um, and my body was telling me the entire time, like something, like you need to tend to your body, you need to tend to your well being. But my environment just didn't allow that to happen at my workplace. And so I essentially ended up taking a sabbatical towards the end of 2019 for a month. And after that, I decided, I had experienced a glimpse of peace. And my body never experienced that before. And I wanted to explore more of what that looked like. So, without a plan, I decided to resign from my job, and basically what I knew life to be. I was what people would consider to be successful on paper, where, I had the job check, like the six-figure income and all these things. But internally, I was actually surviving. I wasn't thriving. And and in hindsight, I also wasn't doing work that was fulfilling to me as well. I'm crunching numbers, I'm meeting deliverables and deadlines, but it wasn't helping anyone. Like I was so disconnected to my team at times. And so, I was seeking something with more depth. I was seeking fulfillment. I was seeking my life's purpose. And, the intention at the time was really just to travel, see the world, um, and allow my everything to just unfold the way that I felt that it was going to. Um, and then life happened, COVID happened, and everyone had to stay inward, stay home, and there is so much that happened during that time frame that everything that did happen happened for a reason. So I became a doula, and that taught me the beauty in community, in the way that ancestrally we showed up for you know women and families, in a very very beautiful way. um, I also was studying herbalism, and I was able to just I allowed myself to do all the things that, you know, that I never really had the chance to do. I was always interested in it, but I never had the space or time and energy and bandwidth, honestly, to really pour into it. And so I started doing all those things. Um, and so I reached a point, though, where I was also experiencing severe chronic stress. And so, like, I left the job. I, had opportunities to just like, really find my purpose and, delve into the things that I wanted to delve into. But my body was also suffering at that same time. So I was experiencing insomnia still. I was experiencing a lot of severe allergic reactions that were continuously to progress. Um, and I was looking at a lot of the things that was the ingredients that was in the products that I was using and just doing like a scrub of everything that I was taking in and also doing research. And I came across this article in terms of how, women of color are exposed to harmful toxins than any other demographic. And this is in their bloodstream. And these toxins are linked to cancer, reproductive issues, etc. And not knowing what to trust, I just decided not to use anything, and I started making my own personal care products. So I started doing that, and then in addition to that, I was trying to find a way to basically heal my fragile nervous system. And so I was leaning heavily on adaptogens, and adaptogens are a group of plants and mushrooms that they grow in these very intense climates. But not only do they grow in those harsh, intense environments, they're thriving in it. And so when we consume that intelligence within our body, it is able to bring our bodies to a homeostasis. And it meets everyone's body where it's at. And so if you're a person who suffers from, if you suffer from overwhelm, anxiety, you're always on edge, then it'll bring you down to a sense of homeostasis. And if you're someone who suffers from fatigue and depression, then it'll bring you up. It basically has an intelligence that works with everybody's body to bring them to a sense of balance. So I lean heavily on this group of plant medicines, and on accident, I grew my hair to tailbone length. And so when everyone keeps asking, like, what are you doing? What are you taking? And it was essentially, I was healing my nervous system, and that's what happened. And I learned a lot of things through that process. I learned that, when we're thriving internally, we're automatically going to thrive externally. A lot of the beauty industry, essentially, their solve for beauty is on a topical sense. So they're putting all these things on our bodies, but then all the things that goes in our bodies are hurting us internally, and it's showing up and manifesting as stress, as dis-ease or inflammation, etc. And so this approach allowed for me to holistically heal myself and also enhance my beauty as well. In a way that was not intentional, but it just so happened to do that. So yeah, I was sitting on the formula for years, really just like trying to just like, I was really honestly, the reason why.
Can I pause just for a second, Chantrell?
Yeah, sure.
There's so much that you're saying because there's people in the chat that's already saying stuff.
Okay.
And I want to kind of unpack a little bit because you said a lot of stuff, and I want to make sure.
I did. It's a lot.
Well, I mean, you went over it for
so many years.
Yeah, you just succincted in like 5 minutes of what you've been through, right? So I want to honor that, right?
Yes,
so we have some comment here from Cynthia. Thank you, Cynthia. The last piece of dwindling power bring insight. Exactly. So when you had that piece, you're like, that sabbatical, that little 1 month wasn't enough. You're like, I gotta let it completely go, right?
Yeah.
We also have another comment here. This is when you're talking about levels of stress. High levels of stress can negatively impact both mental and physical health. Take care of yourself always. Actually, when you were talking, it's so funny how this is how our behind the scenes conversations went, right? This is why I love like having these lives. I have a conversation with my people and it comes out on like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like the fact that like for me as a couples therapist, I'm focusing on external relationships, right? That's primarily what I'm doing. And then as I'm doing, I'm like, wait, you gotta look at yourself, sis. Look at yourself, bro. Like, let's look at it inward first, or as we do the couples at least, right? And so to your point with the beauty, wellness, stress, all these other things, you weren't actually expecting the external, beauty to come. You're just trying to heal yourself on the inside, and it
Yeah.
just organically turned into something also beautiful on the outside. And so I think in both of our, journeys, whether it's personal or professional, we're finding that there's so much power in ourselves first, and we don't tend to focus on our inside as much, whether that's inside physical inside or inside emotional or mental or spiritual. We kind of like do a little bit and we just keep going, do a little bit, we just keep going. If that, but rarely do we really focus inward on a consistent basis enough to get tailbone enough hair. Okay. That is rare. So we got somebody already loving your story. Super inspiring. You go, girl. Thank you for sharing. Some claps and some crowns for you. Okay, they're loving your story. So so I want to backtrack a little bit to the purpose part, right? Because I don't think that part of it. When you're at your job and you realize, okay, I got to take a break. You took a break and you realize that it sounded like before you realized your purpose, you just knew that you weren't doing well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, my body was giving me all the signs to exit stage left. And, mentally it was something that I couldn't wrap my head around. Like, what does life look like not being in DC and, not doing this job? Like, I studied for this. This is, a part of like the whole life and world that I had created.
I love what you said. Was the last part?
Like, what am I going to do if I exit stage left? Like, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And so a lot of times we do, and that's a lot of the clients I serve as well, is women of color and also men of color as well, where they're usually professional people. And so they have a lot of like check boxes, like exactly what you said. And so that I think is one of those things where we were taught, you got to go to school, or at least have a business, do something, be externally, set, so to speak. But no one really talks about, other than maybe going to church and the spiritual aspect. I know in our community does talk about that. But I think other than that, there is no real discussion about the internal, work. One of my guests, Edna Pierre, came on. She's also a friend of ours from high school, came a few months ago on imposter syndrome. And she said something really powerful, which was like, we tend to do all this work on the inside, but we lose ourselves. I mean, on the outside, but we lose ourselves on the inside. Right. And she said it better than I just did. But that was kind of the whole point of what she was saying. And so it kind of reminds me about what we're talking about tonight, where we can kind of lose ourselves in the outside stuff. And then we're like, why are we not happy? Or why are we sick? Or, why are we not doing well? And so a lot of times our answers are on the inside. And so I think, it's important to kind of look at that piece of it too, where if you're in a space where you're not happy or you're not doing well, that's a good point to maybe pause, if you can't take a sabbatical, take a break, take a day off, do something, go to a counselor, like, set some intentional time aside to see what's going on your inside, And so I want to make sure I highlight that, because that's something that I think people can take away, whether they're sitting here tonight or they want to share this live with somebody, where it's like, okay, yes, life is not perfect, things happen, but if there's a consistent, I think that was part of what I heard in your story too, and I see in my clients, and I go through that as well, where if there's a period of time sometimes where you go through it consistently, you're not feeling well, whether that's you're physically sick or mentally or emotionally, then you shouldn't be not doing well for that long. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like the whole, yes, you have to have some type of bounce back, so to speak.
Yeah.
I have another comment here and I'll check in with you. I know that feeling. I was laid off last May and I didn't know life outside of it. It had become my identity.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And one more is I'm at that stage right now in my job and they tell me to keep it because the bills need to be paid. Right. And that's tough. And I guess maybe can you share, that's actually a good thing. If you don't mind commenting, I could piggyback off you too.
Yeah.
Where there is a real world out there, right? We got to pay bills, so people can't always leave their jobs. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say do the things that feel right, whatever it is, because in the fulfillment, like, you're really seeking a consistency of feeling full, like, right? And so that's how I see it. It's like, what is the thing that gives me joy? What is the thing that, helps others, that people always come to me about? For me, that was like herbalism or something related to wellness. And like, what is that thing that you just inherently know, that you're good at? What gives you joy? Like, whatever it is, like, put energy and space into that. Give that on your weekends or whatever your downtime look like. Pour into those things, because it's going to allow you it'll carry you over. But in those moments of being present in those things, you'll get an idea of like a breadcrumb in terms of what you should be doing next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I think that's important, right? Like, we definitely want to acknowledge that people's bills need to get paid. But I think part of your answer also speaks to that. Now, we talked about this at our retreat. We had a women's retreat last weekend, and it was on this topic, purpose, self-worth, and that your purpose does not have to be, we were taught that, like, find a job that, fulfills your purpose and you get money and get paid and all this other beautiful stuff, right? But then it got stuck in our minds that our job has to fulfill our purpose.
Exactly.
Well, what if your job pays your bills and your purpose is someplace else? Like, you know what I mean? No one ever told you that. Like, both can be true. And so, of course, if you're not happy at your job, as our guest here, Harry Ann, was saying, we don't want to promote to just be unhappy. But I think what we're talking about is being creative on what your purpose can look like, right? And does it have to be fulfilled at your job or not? And it starts to like dismantle that myth too, right? Which no one ever talks about. And so it makes it opportunity to be more expressive and creative about where your purpose actually is. And it almost makes a job situation, because I think all of us probably had a job we didn't want to be at and we had to be there, but it starts to mentally and emotionally separate you from the job, and then you kind of fulfill it someplace else.
Exactly. Like, there's really no one thing that is going to fill you fully, right? And so you have to figure out, like, what are all the buckets, that fills me up. Sometimes that's volunteer work. Sometimes, like, that for me, like, that looks like connecting with nature, growing things. Like, there's so many things that you can do to kind of offset in the meantime, in between time, to help you really, not focus on those things, but really be in a flow state to even figure out what to do next. Like, I think oftentimes we're so focused on distractions as well, and we don't really silence, our thoughts and really, get the answers that we're seeking or that we're looking for. And so that's also another important component as well. If you can't take the time off, just take time, and make space for it to be revealed to you.
Yeah, I love that. And so one of the things that we, and that's part of what we're saying, me and Chantel are saying tonight too, like, it's kind of thinking about, it's almost like demystifying the myths about purpose itself. We talked about that for Black people, but I guess we should do that for purpose too, right? And so one thing I've learned is that purpose does not have to be singular, right? So oftentimes we talk about purpose as, what is my life's purpose? Like, your whole life, you just got one purpose, right? And I'm not saying that's not the case, but for people that doesn't align for them, doesn't mean that the purpose that they do identify is any less. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, like I said, I think we're always on purpose. Even when I was at my job, I needed to go through that level of contention, right, in order for me to move. Like, I'm one of those people where I do learn the hard way, unfortunately. So, like, it literally took me to go through that in order to, and so I think that we're always on purpose. Now, how we're living, are we living in a purposeful way? That's also another question. And are we intentional with how we're spending our time and how we're showing up in the world? And how does that impact the greater good? I think those are always really great questions to start with, and kind of like work your way around that as well.
Yeah, I love that. So thinking about that purpose is not singular. Your life may have many purposes, right? Your purpose does not have to be at your job. You can get your job to pay the bills, and then after work, go live your purpose. Your purpose does not have to be linear, which is just one line. Like, it's just like, okay, I got to do these things, and that's it. And then the other thing I was going to say is your purpose is also personal. It's also yours. Like, you don't have to necessarily feel like it has to be something externally has to be validated by other people, which I know could be hard, right, to kind of wrap your head around, because it's like you want that validation from the world sometimes. But if you think about some of those things we just listed, we just said, I think it kind of like starts to take away at the fact that your purpose is one thing, is at your job, and you have to make sure you're happy at your job, fulfill your purpose, and pay your bills at the same time. And nobody in the world is doing that.
It's a balance,
right? Like,
I don't think anybody has it figured out.
Yeah, and then your purpose can change over time. You know what I mean? So you may feel like it's one thing one time, and then another thing another time, and I think that's okay. And I think the more we think about it, it opens it up.
And I think the beautiful part about that too is that we're never the same version of ourselves. Like, who I was 2 years ago is not who I am now, and not who I will be a month from now. Like, we're constantly, evolving. And so our purpose will always be evolving. Like, there's no destination in purpose, right? It's always going to be a journey. It's always going to be evolving. And I think that too, that we think that our purpose is going to be like this, happy ending, or like this happily ever after scenario where it's like blissful too. And I really feel like, it's, peaks and lows. Like people don't think that the peaks and valleys, right? People think that purpose just looks like the good days and the good times. And it's like, no, like sometimes the bad times or the things, when you're going through like your lowest moment, there's some sort of silver lining there. There's some place where there's growth potential to be had in that area for you to move forward to the next level of your purpose. Yeah. I had one more thought, but I just lost it. But
it's okay. Well, someone give you some praise hands, like whatever you just said.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, and I think that even in the peaks and valleys, like it's our medicine, right? Like it's healing there in every step of the way. I think I just really feel like there's this grand, idea about it, and sometimes it doesn't look like that. Sometimes our medicine is not going to taste great. Sometimes it's bitter, like, but it's always helping us, moving us along our evolutionary journey. So yeah.
I love it. No, I love it. That's awesome. I'm gonna check the chat because it's been blowing up since we've been talking. So we have here, let's see, Cynthia's comment: when you find your internal happiness, we're talking about that a lot, there's a peace exterior factors cannot disturb. So like once you're at peace on the inside, then it kind of makes it where the world can do what it's doing and you're grounded in your purpose or your happiness or whatever that is. And that feels very empowering rather than feel like you're being like pushed and pulled and whatever's happening outside. You like that kind of like?
I love that. And I would add to that as well that, just being at peace with what is. Because I think that all the time, really, like we've been conditioned to just control the way and the narrative of how things look. And, sometimes it's just accepting the way things is, there's a level of acceptance where you become at peace, where you find that peace, to Cynthia's point, and you're not really battling like what the reality is. So that way you can get closer to the next, step. But
yeah, because it's
like, you fight it.
No, I was going to say that's resistance, right?
Yeah,
so
it's resistance.
Sometimes you have to be resistant if it's like a survival thing.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But we don't thrive in survival, I think that's part of what you're saying. So that's important to think about. We have another comment here that says, one thing I have learned in my spiritual journey is the exact word you said, joy. Very different than happiness. Very different than happiness. I think so. I think joy is a deeper thing. I think happiness is more fleeting. Joy kind of grounds you more. And I feel like happiness is more about external. Like something happens, I'm happy about it, but joy feels like more internal. Would you have anything to add to that part, Chandra?
Yeah, I love that. I can't see the name.
That's actually Lindsay from high school. She said she's under her son's name. I told her it's okay. Thanks, Lindsay.
No, I love that. In the mindfulness world, joy is one of those, like happiness is not even on the chart of emotions, right? Like to me, like happiness, can be defined in so many different ways, but it's that joy. Joy is high vibrational in so many ways. And it's on that high, it's what they call an elevated emotion.
Yes.
And so there's so much juiciness and, just there's so much that you can experience in that, that will transform whatever you're going through too.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So someone said, and I think y'all must be giving some support. I love y'all already. This is y'all giving support to each other in the chat. Look at this. So someone was saying,
love it, community.
You're not good at anything. And then that's Harry Ann. And then someone, Haitian Speed, says, Harry, try new things, getting a hobby to challenge you, and you may end up being really good at it, right? And then we have Cynthia says, positive solitude is a way. So y'all just supporting each other, helping y'all find y'all purposes. Okay, I'm for that. I love it. That's so nice. I would also add, I'm going to drop it in the chat. So this is something that we did in the retreat. So the women's retreat we had was called You Are Worthy to Live in Your Purpose. It was in downtown Orlando with my colleague, Brittany Carter. She's a certified yoga instructor. And so we had a whole day of women of color just, blocking the world out for the whole day, right? Hours of a day. And then and then focus on self-worth and purpose. And we talked about how if your sense of self-worth, I'm going to put this in here, if your sense of self-worth is low, right, then it's constricted, because self-worth
Yeah.
is basically you are looking at your self-worth or your value as conditional. So like you have to be good at stuff, or you have to be, if you're a woman, you got to be a mom. If you're a guy, you have to make a lot of money, like whatever the conditional things that they say, you know, in
Yeah.
our culture and community. And so when those things don't happen, then people sometimes, you know, challenges their self-worth. And
Yeah.
so if you're feeling constricted in your self-worth, then it's going to be hard to explore your purpose, because your purpose should be explored. It should be, you know, tried out and just be open to things, right? So
Yeah.
we talked about that. And so with that being said, with the purpose thing, we kind of came to the idea that, like, going back to Harry Ann saying she's not good at things and trying to figure that out, and people are
Mhm.
supporting her in that, that we talked about how it maybe is not so much what you do as your purpose. I think that goes back to the job situation, but more so what's internal, what's in what
How
is
does it make you
aligned.
feel?
Say it again.
How does it make you feel?
How
Because
to
if
make
we're
you feel what's in
constantly
alignment for you, right?
judging, yeah, if we're constantly judging what we're good at or bad at, then we're never gonna, there's, the benchmark is always gonna be, you know, fluid. Like there is no benchmark that you can have it measured at. And so when you're really just focused on, okay, this, I can't sing worth a lick, but singing makes me happy. I don't know what it is about it, but it just brings me so much joy. Then do that. You know, like whatever it is, like find a way to be in those elevated emotions, because it'll take you a long way.
For
Honestly.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. No, I love that. I think that goes so like a long way. I agree with you 100%. And so one thing that we talked about was, instead of looking at purpose as what you do, what me and Chantrell are saying, look inward. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? I guess we should say that instead. We'll change that to what brings you joy, what's in alignment for you. You know, all those
Yeah.
different things. And so we discovered at the retreat that maybe looking at your personal values could help you determine what your purpose is. And maybe your purpose isn't a thing that you do, maybe it's how you move in the world. And maybe the things you do are just an expression of your purpose. Right.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
and I'll be transparent as well. So I had a moment at the retreat where I had a transformative moment. You know, so I'm a host of retreat. I'm a certified therapist, you know, licensed therapist. I'm here with my, you know, my retreat attendees and my colleague, and we're talking. And I was like, wait, I think I can describe my purpose. And I feel like I always, to your point earlier, I always kind of knew what it was. But I would
Mhm.
say things like, oh, you know, I'm a helper, I'm kind, I support people, like just all the general, I'm compassionate, like all the general things. It never felt like it actually stuck, but I was like, I just went with that for a while. And then I came to the point of saying, oh, I think my purpose is to cultivate love. And then
Yeah.
when I said that, I got
Mhm.
like this internal kind of experience of like just everything just felt like it connected in the moment. And I looked at everything in my personal life, my professional life, and I'm like, yeah, like my practice is called Heartfelt Counseling Center. You know, everyone, like, not everyone, but like my clients, we have a great relationship. The retreats I do, everything just came, being a wife, being a mom, just came kind of to that. And so it
Mhm.
made so much sense where it was more internal versus external, like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, or I do these things.
Mhm.
Those things externally they could change, like you may not do those things anymore one day. So does that mean that it doesn't align? You don't know your purposes anymore? Maybe not. And so that's something to
Yeah.
kind of think about. So I share that personal story as well, just because sometimes, I think it's good to kind of dismantle in a real story, not just kind of say it, and how that aligns for you too. And so I'm sharing in the chat, and I also just put it on the screen, a personal values assessment. If people want to take it, we shared it after retreat with people. It's free. So if you want to know what your person, so this goes back to all the way back to Harry Ann's comment about not knowing what she does well. And so maybe taking away that for right now, because that focuses more on external, but looking more internally, and maybe using something like a values assessment to see like what matters to you, and that can tell you what you care about, and maybe that can lead you to your purpose from that point, so to speak. And we have some agree in the chat as well. Thank you for the gem. You're welcome, Harry Ann. Anything you want to add to that, Chantra, before we move forward? I'm trying to see if anybody else has anything in the chat too. Oh, someone said I have. Oh, so she got some support. Many purposes in life, for sure. Okay.
Yeah. Now I
I-
was gonna just say that one thing that was helpful, I was doing this hypnotherapy at one season in my life, and with the therapist basically helped me understand my values through basically just solidifying all the things that was really important to me. I am low-key a nerd. I forever will be learning things. I'm an Aquarius, like that is my zhuzh. Um, And so like just constantly being in a space where I feel like I'm constantly learning and being challenged in that way. Like that's one of the things that it's just what I'm about, and so like
Yeah.
finding those things like Melissa said, like the values, that I hope, bring more context around the things that you can call in and creatively explore.
No, I love that. I love that. It kind of makes it where it feels more fluid, more
Mhm.
flowy versus like, oh, it has to be these things. I have to check
Yeah,
off the
and
box.
and it really helps you understand like what's important to you too, like having that front of mind, allows you to understand like these are the things that I'm about as a person, as a human being. And these are things that I may want more of if I'm currently not doing that right now.
No, I
Mhm.
love that. And someone else had a comment, and we'll go on to the last couple of questions for the night. Click Bishop says, sometimes we try too hard to rhyme grateful with happy. Yeah. Sometimes the thing we're most grateful for are the things that make us unhappy. Jobs, home, transportation, we work hard to afford. That's so true. So you can be grateful for something, you can accept kind of where you are, but it doesn't equate to happiness or joy. I think that's important. It kind of gives nuance to our
Mhm.
internal experience. And that also comes up in therapy too, where people are like, I feel like I should be happy. And that's actually where, honestly, like way back maybe the beginning of this year to the end of last year, another thing too, is like I was working with a lot of clients and they were meeting their goals for therapy because when they come in, if y'all know me personally and professionally, I'm like, we got a structure. I'll be fun and we'll have a good time, but what are we working on? What is the purpose that we're here? Right. So I'm like that with my clients too. And so they'll meet their goals and it'll be amazing. And so, but sometimes like as they're kind of doing it, what we do like maintenance sessions like for a while till they wrap up,
Mhm.
we discover that they're still not as happy, quote unquote, they use happy, or not as satisfied as they thought they would have been now that they've, either addressed their marriage concerns or, were able to work through issues at their job or whatever or maybe some mental health stuff. And still are like, I feel like something's missing, or I feel like I'm not all the way happy as much as I thought I was going to be. And so we discovered that they, basically their values and their sense of value, not their values as far as core values what we talked about, but their sense of self-worth basically was something we explored. And it came to a point of like, okay, I can have all these things, but I don't even know if I'm worthy to have all these things, or maybe I feel like I should be doing something else. There's a lot more questions that came. And
Mhm.
so I think it's one of those things where like when you think about what you were taught or conditioned again to believe is going to make you happy, and that you don't get the same feeling you thought you're going to get, it makes
Yeah.
everything come into question.
It does, and it should, because you were here for a specific reason, and so when you're living the life that was told to you for you to live, like it's gonna show up, like you're gonna feel it, like this is not it, and that's a
Exactly.
sign. Like I do feel like the way that we feel is like almost like a GPS. All of our
Yes.
feelings are telling us something. It's not just you're feeling it, and I judge the way I feel about it. It's like no, it's actually a clue that, you should be doing more of this, maybe less of that, like treat it like that as well and be objective with it too, but also experience what's coming up. There's a balance between the two, but I think that it's important for us to like pay attention to those feelings and not try to shush it away if it doesn't feel happy or, great all the time. Like there's a meaning for it that we should listen to.
No, that's so true. I talk about that in therapy all the time. Like your emotions are your guide. And
Yeah.
people say, well, I don't want to listen to my emotions. I don't want to be reactive. And it's like your emotions are, yeah, you want to put some logic in there, some wisdom at some
Hmm.
point, right? Don't just react to them, but you also don't want to quiet them too much because they are your guide. Like I'm
Exactly.
very like heart centered. I think how you feel matters a lot, because that's even in like relationship work with couples, they don't always recognize that it's what they're feeling that's me. So people say like, I want to learn how to communicate better to my partner. And I tell them like, I'm not a like skill, like I'm not on the big on like skill building first. I'm like, let's go deeper and then skill build, or do it
Hmm.
simultaneously. And so I've had couples be like, no, we just need some skills. We're good. Like, okay, cool. I'll try it out for a couple people. And it always happens how I think it's gonna happen. I'm like, I'll give you all the skills, but then when you're mad, you can't apply them because you don't know how to regulate your emotions. So I'm like, we're back at the square one. And so we have to
Yeah.
kind of go back and be like, okay, let's look at how you were feeling. And there's things that been, of course, sometimes they built up over time in the relationship and all that jazz. But sometimes I think people are just scared to like face their emotions, but then they also don't recognize how much their emotions are actually dictating their behavior. And
Yeah.
they're just kind of like, it's just, and it's automatic too. Like you just have a feeling, you just react, and not necessarily aggressively or like anything harsh, just it can even just be reacting in avoidance. Like someone saying, when you pissed off, you just walk out. Like it don't got to be a fight. You didn't
Right.
even talk about it. You didn't express yourself. You didn't do. You just
Right.
left, you know, because you were mad. And so I think it's something that people need to slow down sometimes and pay attention to. And I know it's hard, hard to do, but it is our guides for sure. For sure.
I agree. And then one last point I wanted to say to the person who was he was talking about, like, what if you're not good at anything?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important to remember or to practice gratitude, like make that a practice. And sometimes, we highlight, the grand things that's happening, like a pay increase or like you move or a degree. And it's like those little things in your life, like I am breathing, like, just little things. I have family. My mom is present, my dad, like whatever it is, like being grateful for the people that's present in your life today. Like there's so much joy that can be cultivated. And I think cultivation is something that should be a part of everyone's toolkit, because I think we also experience feelings in a responsive way. And I think, we're also able to cultivate that and bring it up at any moment. And so like really building that in our bodies and, making that a practice, is really imperative as well.
I agree. Sometimes we kind of lose sight of that because of the external focus so much, right? I have another comment here from Cynthia. I think people believe it's a disconnect, and it's not. As far as like our emotions, everything connects to who, what, where. The latter is the overwhelming piece of the overall journey. Exactly.
Absolutely.
That has to lead us to divine purpose.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for the comment, Cynthia. So we're going to go ahead and move on. So we have a couple more questions before we start wrapping up. So Chantal, our next question, this kind of goes with us bringing together self-worth and purpose a little bit. Since you had an incredible journey to get to where you are now, I would love to hear how did you know you were worthy to live in your purpose? Because I feel like we can maybe identify it, but maybe we may not always feel like we should be doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So for me, it didn't start with worth. Because I understood that what I valued was based off of conditioning or a program from either my parents or, society. So it wasn't worth for me. It was more of an acknowledgement that I had a desire. And it was fueled by courage to get to that purpose. So for me, like I knew that it was one of those things that terrified the living life out of me, to be honest with you. But I also, I saw it very clearly, the way that it would impact other people and how that, I can't just hold on to this. Like, I really do believe that, part of my purpose is to be of service. So in this way, I'm like, this is a love offering in a way to help another person who may be battling with chronic stress or whatever it is. To help them be well and to thrive. And so for me, it was almost selfish to not do it. And I had to get over my own self and get out of my own way in order to really put it out. And so it was something that I knew that I wanted it. I was afraid to do it. And I had to essentially just allow myself to be courageous in that sense. And I think that the worth came after. So it's like going through the fear of it, getting out of my comfort zone. Like there's like this concentric circle where it's just like this is where you're at, and then there's fear, comfort, growth. And then the worth came, because it was just like, once I was in it, it was just like, yeah, this feels right. Like, yeah, like all those things. But I had to rebuild that and kind of, go about it in a very different way. And so like for right now, like I tell myself, like, I have a right to be here. I have a right to be in this space, to take up space, to serve people, to help them be well, to help them thrive, to help them, connect that beauty and wellness gap that I feel like within the industry is missing. Because right now, a lot of the beauty products are causing a lot of harm within our bodies as Black women. And so for me, it's like, it's beyond me. It was something that I saw, there was such a huge need. And for me, it was almost like an epidemic that no one is talking about. Like there's so many women struggling. Like my mother is I'm a daughter of a breast cancer survivor. And so it's like, it was just something that was deeply rooted in me that needed to come out and needed to express itself. And I had to lead with courage in order to really stand in my worth in that way.
What I appreciate about your story and your response is that it shows how all of our paths are different. You
Hmm.
know, like there are people that may need to work on their worth to get the courage, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think for you, yours came in a vision, and you were able to connect to something bigger than yourself that pushed you through, like
Yeah.
catapulted you out of it, and be like, now to sustain it. I think it's kind of what you're saying. To sustain it, you
I
have to
have
make sure
to.
you're grounding your purpose.
I
You
have
know.
I have to be in my worth in order to be in this industry. Like so that's the sustainability aspect. I have to really speak life into that because,
Mhm.
you know, there's so many things around, this industry in terms of, just coming in and, I'm not in the beauty industry. And so really coming in from the wellness perspective, like there's so many
Mhm.
questions around that, so many people validating, like, why are you here? But
Mm.
I'm very much aware and I see it in my head. I feel it in
Mhm.
my body and in my heart. And so that's enough validation to keep going forward for me.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
goes back to the internal, right? If you focus on
Yeah.
internal
You have to
beauty.
honor it because before people see it or understand it, like you kind of you see it and feel it, it's very real for you, but some people won't learn until later, and that's fine. But
Yeah,
I
and
have to preach to myself that I deserve to be here. I have the right to be here. I have the right to take up space. I am
mhm.
worthy of everything thing that I desire. Like all those things. I have to speak that into myself because I can't expect for someone to do that for me. I have to be that for myself.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you're actually speaking a lot to like why I started this platform and like focus on Black love. And I talked about
Mhm.
this on some of my other lives before, where it's like, I was nervous starting it, but I just did it scared, And
Mhm.
so I know you gave me a lot of compliments about me being bubbly and talkative and stuff, and that is part of my personality as well. And
Yeah.
also, when I was starting the platform, I was like, okay, for me, when I started my practice, I want to focus on Black and brown women and men and couples and relationships. I feel like having that focus is important. And I have been gotten that feedback from clients who call me, like, I've been looking for a Black couples therapist. They can't find one in their area or whatnot. And so it kind of validated, my sense of worth and purpose as well
Yeah.
in those moments. But I kind of did it because I just felt like it's similar to yours. I feel like I kind of just needed to. But when I was doing it,
Mhm.
I was like, I got a lot of non-Black colleagues that told me watch. And not that I'm saying anything crazy, but it's one of those things where you're in an agency space, you're kind of in a certain type of work environment. And then for me, I went off to work for myself, and I really felt a pull to like have these conversations and to put out this content in a
Mhm.
way that was meaningful. Because I feel like a lot of times Black love content or Black relationship content is very polarizing
Yeah,
and very like
definitely.
clickbait. And also me being a therapist, I didn't necessarily want to be dry and be like, oh, do these 5 steps and your relationship will be perfect. Like I'm not gonna have that conversation. That's not even true. But I do want to bring my expertise to the conversation, but also in a way that's relatable and meaningful for our culture specifically. I mean, if we
Yeah,
took out, the Black love thing, just call it love, can people benefit from the conversation? Yes. But I'm very
absolutely.
intentional about making
Yeah,
sure that the people that I need and want to hear it can hear it for them. And it's
yeah,
not, and I do have other non-Black clients in my practice as well. But at the same time, I think it's really near and dear to my heart that I make sure I have these conversations so that
mhm.
way people can know that you can have a healthy relationship with your family, your friends, your romantic partner. It doesn't have to look, you don't have to be relationship goals,
Right.
not get into Will and Jada, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be all of that. Exactly. Right. You can just be yourself with your family, your friends, and your partner, whatever yourself
Yeah,
looks like, but still keeping in mind that we do have those narratives that are told to us, that are pushed down to us, that the condition that we were raised in our culture, that does perpetuate some of these challenges that we face in our relationships. I mean, I think that's really what it is, right? Regardless of the culture, do people have problems in relationships? Of course they do, but ours look very specific. And I see it every day, And so trying to make it
mhm.
more plain for people to see and not to shy from the conversation and to know that, yes, we can have a healthy conversation and still be able to learn from it and still have fun, that's very, very important to me. So
Yeah,
I definitely
I love
relate
that.
to the make it bigger than you, pull of it. So we have some trophy yellow smile. I guess it's maybe an emoji that got typed
Oh,
out. But they love it. Whatever we're saying, they love it. Agreed. Amazing podcast. So thank you all. High level conversation that's worth revisiting. Yes, please go
oh,
back and listen to
wow,
the
thank you.
replays. And someone said, "Oh no, Will and Jada." See,
Right, hot mess.
I mean, if I put Will and Jada on I probably would have had 100 people in this room. Okay. And so I have to make sure and I ground myself to know that my worth is not into this clickbait. You know what I mean? Because I have meaningful
Yeah,
clickbait. So do you, Chantrell.
mhm.
So I have another comment. I was about to write a Will and Jada joke. See, I having fun. See, we having fun and we still have a meaningful conversation. That's my jam right here. I love it.
Yes.
So last question of the night, and we're gonna start wrapping up. And this is for not just Chantrell. I know we all comment on this question. We answer it together. This is something we do as a tradition at the end of all the shows. And the question is, if you had to choose one characteristic or value in your relationship, you only can choose one. All right, we'll see who wins, because we tally up which side wins.
And I can't see the comments either, so that's fine.
Yeah, I'll tally it up first. You can only pick honesty or compassion. So if you had to pick one, so Chantrell will give us an answer in a minute, but I want y'all to think about it. You only could pick honesty and compassion. And if you had to pick only one of them, which one would you choose? You can also share why if you want, but you don't have to. We just kind of have fun with it. So honesty and compassion, which one would you choose? And then Chantrell, you can give your answer while I tally up the votes.
Okay.
What would you answer?
It would be compassion all day, honest, because I feel like honesty is a component. Oh, yeah, it's a form of compassion. You know, I think that you can be compassionately honest to somebody, but I feel like, you know, compassion is an extension of love, and there's so much life in love. There's so much growth in it. You can be brutally honest and hurt somebody, you know, and break someone down. And so I'm going to go with team compassion, because there's growth from the latter.
Yes, team compassion. I'm team compassion all day. My answer never changes. Yes, I am a therapist, and I am going to vote compassion. I'm making it easy for y'all, okay? I always say this answer, just for people that haven't heard it before. The reason I choose compassion is because that's where I find people are the most honest and the most vulnerable, and they share more. I think when people perceive that they're going to be judged, just perception, then they tend to not be as transparent, and not to say that they're lying, but not as transparent and upfront with how they're feeling or what's going on with them. You find out so much more when people, you know, that's why I got a job. You know what I mean? People, they can't be safe in some of their personal relationships, right?
Yeah.
And they go to a therapist who, you know, they can count on, and to know that they're not going to be judged. They can have an open space. I'm not going to tell their business, of course, which is illegal to do that, but I wouldn't anyway, right? And so they can just be open and know that they're going to get that support regardless of what they tell me, right? And people don't get that all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And so let's see here. We got some honesties. See, this always happens. Even though we got me and you gonna count for 2. All right. So we got
because our vote matters.
2. Yes, our vote matters. 3. Thank you all for voting. 4, 5. Oh Lord, I think we're gonna lose, Chantrell. So we got 5 honesties, and we got a compassion in the building. Thank you, Click Bishop. So we got 3 compassion and 5 honesties. So look, we have a couple minutes, y'all. We're gonna do a couple of announcements, but go ahead and keep voting so we can win. So compassion can win. So we have some other comments here. I'm gonna scroll up because I want us to leave it for this part. If you want to talk about how people can, just more about your brand, because you haven't been able to talk about that. Somebody actually made a comment about your brand, Chantrell. They said, let's see here. It may be taking me a second to find it. So you can just tell them about your brand and I'll pull it up.
Yeah, definitely. So Neosoul is an adaptogen hair wellness brand. We launched in September, so we're fairly new. And essentially, we're leading with supplements, but we're also extending into the hair care space. And essentially, the supplements assist you balance stress, hormonal imbalance as well. It balances your gut health. There's a slew of benefits to it, but essentially, it does promote hair growth as well. And the premise behind it is because our nervous system, for those who don't know, is actually an extension of our hair, and it's always in communication to us. And so, which is why, you know, when we're stressed, we see so much thinning in hair loss. And so this is really a different way to approach hair growth that I haven't seen in the market as of yet, but we're approaching it through stress care, where we're better managing our stress internally, so that way we can see and promote hair growth. So we're providing the optimal conditions within our body, so that way our hair can grow. There's also additional benefits such as clearer skin, lower inflammation, etc. But yeah, it's basically the daily hair growth supplement with benefits. If I had to summarize it.
Oh, I love it.
And then our hair care piece would be free of endocrine disruptors and a lot of the toxins that create added stress within our bodies. So we're basically a hair wellness brand that's focused on helping reduce stress within your body, so that way you can thrive externally.
Yeah, I love it. And so you have to remember Chantrell's story, right? So she went through that challenging job. She left it. She wasn't doing well physically and emotionally, and she did her own research to determine what she wants to put in her body just for herself. And the side benefit of that was the beauty part, which is the lengthening of her hair, and wanting to, you know, deliver that to y'all as a wellness product, not just a hair product, right? Which I think
Yeah.
stands you out from some other brands. So we have Harry Ann says also, she says she brought your product too. So
Oh, wow. Thank
thank
you.
you so much. Yes. And we're going to give contact information at the end, y'all, if y'all want to follow us. And then she also says, I need to have a convo with Melissa. You're having with me tonight, but you can hit me up too. We can talk after this. Just let me know. I appreciate that, Harry Ann. Oh, we got some more compassions. Okay, so we have 5 and 3. Thank y'all for voting. So we got 4 compassions, operating in love. Exactly.
Yes, operating in love all day.
5. Okay, we I think we tied. You know what? Y'all don't gotta vote no more. Unless you want to vote compassion, just vote one more compassion. But otherwise, we're gonna tie it because it's my last live for the year. We might just tie it for the year. And then someone said Will Smith has compassion. Y'all having fun in the chat. I appreciate y'all. They're having fun. Oh, okay. Someone said, I wonder if there's a correlation, Cynthia, to women cutting their hair when they are stressed.
Yeah.
Oh, this is kind of a side, but that's worth a comment. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you do all your research for us?
Our hair actually, it holds energy. And so a lot of time when you see women cut their hair, outside of medical reasons, obviously, but it's really because they want change. They want to release what feels heavy. And, it's cutting that energetic cord as well.
Yeah, that's a great, I didn't make that connection. That's a great observation, Cynthia. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. No, that's important, right? So thinking about that's an internal, external partnership that you're talking about. So good. And so we got some more. Oh, y'all reminded me. So we have some candles here I want to talk to y'all about a little bit. Thank y'all for reminding me. So yes, the Black Love candle by ours truly. Yes. So I actually have it right here. So yes, and actually, Lakai is in the building. Lakai, give us some fire sign. Let us know you're here with us. They actually are the ones that handmade these. Okay, so I'm gonna give a little thing before we start wrapping up. So this is a set candle. You can buy it separately or together. But the main point is I wanted to create an experience for people that represented Black love, but wasn't necessarily like having to go to therapy or if you come to my retreats, you'll experience it there because it's going to be a connection to the retreats as well. But my sister in love, I'm gonna call my sister in love. Junie Victor, she has a candle line called Lakai Homes. Y'all can see it here. And so when she was developing her line, I was so excited about basically, I got to get some behind the scenes, like sense and practices of like smelling the stuff that she was creating. And so I was so inspired by her story and her development that I really wanted to create something for my practice. So she is this is my vision, but she can help me come to life with it, basically.
It's gorgeous.
So this is called Nurture. So this is what the cameras, there you go, y'all, bear with me. So that's Nurture. So this is what it looks like. And then this is Protect. Okay. So at the retreat, if you came to our retreat, you would have smelled it there. And I gave some samples out as well. And so this is
what are the notes for each one?
Yeah. That's what was that?
What are the notes for each candle?
Notes? On her website. So I'm gonna put the website up here, and I'll put it actually when we wrap up in a minute with the contact. So she puts the notes on the website as well, so you'll know. Yeah, look at you and know what's inside it. Look at you.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So the idea is just basically to represent Black love, nurturing, protecting yourself as well, and also your relationships outside of yourself, right? So nurture is like taking care of yourself, taking care of your loved ones. Protect is like boundaries. Like the people all up in your space, they got bad energy, that type of thing. And so, Lakai's in the building, give us a fire signs. They have a wonderful collection as well. And I'm honored that they were, collaborating with me to develop this heartfelt Black love candle. And Cynthia says they smell good. I have not had one person say everybody loves them. So just go ahead and try you some. I'm going to go ahead and put our contact in since I just talked about the candle, I'll just put that up first. So if you want to check out the candles, it's at lakaihomes.com, collections, Black-love. You can also follow me on IG and stuff and get it in my link in my bio as well, if that's quicker. And I'll put it up in a minute. But it's definitely worth this holiday season. It's getting cool in some places. And so you can definitely use them as well. And it'll be good for your wellness practice too. And so I'm going to go ahead and put Chantrell your information up, and you can tell people how to find you, what you have coming up, and they can.
Yes. Yeah, you can find me at niasoul.com. It's our website. It's NIHYASOL, and across all socials at Niasoul.
Lovely, lovely. Are you going to be speaking at any events? Anything coming up? I know you were saying that sometimes you have things coming up. So.
I have something in the works with the major magazine. I can't give too much just yet.
Oh, Okay, exclusive. Y'all heard it here first. We'll know what it is though.
Stay tuned. I'm so excited. Like this is gold, and so I'm
make
just
sure you add me on your
humbled.
list so I can share it for you.
Yes, definitely.
What you got going on. We got some other things about the candle. Them candles got no business smelling this good. I lit them both by accident and found the scents. Yes, that was other part of the vision. Thank you for Cozy for that actually came to mind. So when I was asking her to develop it, I was asking her to. I know they smell good separately because I smell her other candles. Mm-hmm. So I want that they smell good together. You know, like the stronger together. You know, type of thing. Exactly.
Yes, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love the intentionality behind it.
That's yes. So it's also like, you know, playing off the energies, the love energies, right?
Masculine and feminine. I peep it.
Mm-hmm. And so for us, for Heartfelt Counseling, I want to share with y'all that we had a support group. We have a support group that we launched this year with we actually added someone to our team, a therapist. Her name is Kamisha Joseph. She has a support group under our practice called Healing with My Sisters. It's virtual. So wherever you are in the state of Florida, we can see you in that. And the current cohort of women are doing amazing. They have a couple more sessions before they wrap up, and they are already like, you know, kind of connecting and having contact outside of the group, which is what we want. We wanted to build a sisterhood past us, and that was a vision for it. And they are doing that as we speak. And so we appreciate that. So if you want to check out the group, we encourage you to go to my website. They also have an IG page that's separate. If you want to, you know, get firsthand updates or whatever, so that way you can keep up with them. So please follow us. And if you know anybody, if you're not a woman or, you know, you don't necessarily, you need a group, please tell people about it. It's all over Florida. So anywhere you are, you can get it. It's also cost effective. So something that's come up in therapy is that a lot of times people are worried about the cost of therapy because it can be expensive sometimes for some people. But group therapy is a great way to get support. So you have a therapist present who's trained, and also other women who can support you, and also it's cost effective, right? And there's a limited number of sessions we give, so you don't have to, you know, you can budget, you know, what's going on. And so we definitely want people to consider that and share. Please share. Our next rotation is going to be in January, so we want to make sure that we get the word out so people can know about it and to share with other people as well. And then my contact information before we wrap up for tonight is right here. So I will say, if you are interested in therapy, I would definitely say go ahead and call the number. But if you just want to follow me online or IG, just go ahead and go to Heartfelt Counseling Center. And then my website is there. It's the same thing, Heartfelt Counseling everywhere. So it's long, but it's, you know, you can just tattoo it to your brain and you can find it.
Virtual services or just local?
Yes, actually my practice is fully virtual. So I do individual couples and we have a group. Yeah. So anywhere in the state of Florida. So if you know anybody, again, from the Keys to the Panhandle, I got you. Just let me know. And that's another reason why I'm happy that I do have a virtual, because I can reach more Black and brown people that way versus just in my community. So I'm excited about that.
I love it.
Yes, I think I have one more comment and we'll start wrapping up. So this is about to be my last live of the year. So please continue to follow us. We're going to still have content, you know, throughout the year, and then we'll go ahead and prep our lives for next year. If y'all have topics or comments, y'all want to talk about, just let me know. I'd love to consider that as well. So that way I can do what y'all love to hear. Okay. And another comment about the candle. That's right. They do glitter. So I didn't want to light it for y'all because that would have been too much, but they do actually have glitter inside. So it's kind of fancy. She was able to pull it off for me too. So it got a lot of surprises. So it's late, y'all. Let y'all go. Thank you for being with us for tonight. Please follow us, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and we'll be here for if you need us. Care and wellness and mental wellness. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone. It was a pleasure.